On December 1st, the People's Republic of China quietly signed a death warrant for the West's cheap energy future without firing a single shot or holding a raucous press conference. By silently eliminating the 13% export tax rebate on semi-manufactured silver products, Beijing didn't just tweak a tax code. They officially armed a ticking time bomb aimed squarely at global strategic supply lines. This is not a run-of-the-mill economic event. It is the opening salvo in a brutal resource war where, by 2026, the world will witness the evaporation of $3.7 billion worth of silver supply, shoving industries from electric vehicles to solar energy into a black hole of crisis with no escape route. If you want the unvarnished truth about what happens to your wallet in the next 2 years and refuse to be a casualty of ignorance before this financial tsunami hit the like button and share this content right now, so the algorithm spreads this warning to those who need to hear it. The story begins with a seemingly boring administrative text, announcement number 127 from China's Ministry of Finance, a document that most Wall Street analysts skimmed over without a second thought. Before that fateful day, if a smelter in Shanghai or Shenzhen exported silver in the form of conductive wire or paste for Western solar panels, the government would hand them back a 13% tax rebate, a massive subsidy that helped keep global silver prices artificially low for decades. That was China telling the world, "Come take our resources, build your green dreams with our metal." But now, that 13% profit margin has evaporated overnight, meaning the cost for the world to import silver from the planet's largest factory has instantly jumped by double digits. The burning question is, why would an export-driven powerhouse like China shoot itself in the foot by squeezing its own domestic businesses? The answer lies in a terrifying strategic shift that the West has been too naive to recognize. China doesn't need our paper dollars anymore. They need the physical metal to dominate the next technological era. This move bears the hallmarks of the 1970s oil shock, when OPEC realized oil was the ultimate weapon of power that could bring Western economies to their knees. Today, the new oil isn't a black liquid. It is the shiny white metal with the highest electrical conductivity on the periodic table. China, which controls the vast majority of global processing and refining capacity, is effectively enacting a disguised export ban to keep this precious resource for itself, fueling its ambition to monopolize the domestic electric vehicle and renewable energy markets. To understand why this is a fatal blow, we must look deep into physics and technology, where the laws of nature do not negotiate or compromise. The solar industry is undergoing a silent but agonizingly expensive technological revolution, shifting from old PERC battery technology to higher efficiency next-generation cells like TOPCon and HJT. The media often lulls us into believing that as technology advances, it saves materials. But in the photovoltaic world, the reality is brutally the opposite. TOPCon solar cells require 50% more silver than older models to create the microscopic conductive lines on their surface, while HJT technology devours nearly double that amount. Silver is irreplaceable in this application due to its superior conductivity. Every attempt to substitute it with copper or aluminum has led to disastrous drops in efficiency and durability. This is what experts call the solar black hole, a massive gravitational pull of demand that is swallowing every ounce of silver mined from the Earth's crust. In 2023, the solar industry consumed a record-breaking 193 million ounces of silver. But with the rapid shift to TOPCon, Projections for 2025 and 2026 are shattering every previous ceiling. We are staring at a scenario where this single industry alone could consume 30% to 40% of global mining output, a ratio unprecedented in the history of commodities. The cruel irony is that Western governments, with their net zero commitments and green energy subsidies, are essentially printing money to manufacture demand for the very metal that China is now choking off. But the tragedy of the silver market lies not just in the explosion of demand, but in the exhaustion of supply, a geological reality that no amount of money printing can fix. Unlike fiat currency, you cannot print silver, and the numbers from mines around the world paint a grim picture. Global silver mine production peaked in 2016 and has since flatlined or declined, regardless of price fluctuations. The reason for this decline is that humanity has already picked the low-hanging fruit. The open-pit mines are aging, and ore grades are plummeting to alarming levels. Mexico, the world's largest producer, is seeing yields drop from aging deposits, while Peru, another mining powerhouse, is paralyzed by political instability and endless strikes. Furthermore, in today's tight ESG regulatory environment, opening a new mine from discovery to the first pour takes an average of 10 to 15 years. This has created a severe structural deficit for the past 4 years, meaning the world is consuming more silver than we can dig out of the ground annually. So why hasn't the price exploded? Why haven't we seen panic in the headlines? The answer lies in above-ground stockpiles, the massive vaults in London, LBMA, and New York, COMEX, that the world has been draining to plug the gap. We have been living by eating our capital, burning the furniture to heat the house for years, causing these stockpiles to plummet by hundreds of millions of ounces. But the laws of physics are immutable. You can only draw from the vault until it is empty, and that moment is fast approaching. China, as the world's factory, sees these inventory numbers clearer than anyone else, and the decision to cut the tax rebate on December 1st was the act of locking the emergency exit as they realized the supply ship was sinking. However, the most terrifying truth about the silver market isn't in the mines or factories, but in the financial markets, where a massive paper illusion blinds investors. The silver price you see on your TV screen or phone is not the true value of the metal. It is the price of derivative contracts, paper promises to deliver, traded by big banks and hedge funds. On the COMEX and LBMA, the ratio between paper silver and actual physical silver runs into the hundreds to one, a gigantic game of musical chairs worth billions of dollars. For every single ounce of real silver sitting in a vault, there are hundreds of phantom ounces being traded, creating the illusion that supply is plentiful and keeping prices artificially low. This system only survives as long as no one asks for physical delivery, as long as participants just swap contracts and settle the difference in cash. But China's decision has pulled the plug on this game, forcing true industrial manufacturers like Samsung, Tesla, or Apple to face the existential fear of a supply chain rupture. These industrial giants cannot build phones or cars with paper contracts. They need real, 99.9% pure metal to run their assembly lines. When they start to panic and stand for physical delivery at the COMEX vaults, only to realize the cupboards are bare, that is when the paper price becomes irrelevant. This is the script for a classic short squeeze, but on a global scale and driven by industrial survival rather than mere speculation. We saw glimpses of this in 1980 with the Hunt brothers, or in 2011 when silver touched $50. But this time, the dynamic is entirely different and exponentially more powerful. When panic spreads, the price of silver will not just stop at old highs. It will establish a new price floor that reflects true scarcity, where buyers will have to pay whatever it takes to secure product. Many economists believe that once the veil of the paper market is torn to shreds, the gold-to-silver price ratio will revert to its historical average of 15:1, rather than the absurd 85:1 we see today. If that happens, at current gold prices, silver could easily rocket to $150 or even $200 an ounce. This is not just an investment opportunity. It is a great wealth transfer, where assets will shift from those holding depreciating currency to those holding real assets. We are living in an era of unprecedented debt and the rapid devaluation of fiat currencies, where inflation is silently eroding the purchasing power of every household. The year 2026 will be the convergence point of all these factors: the exhaustion of physical supply, the explosion of industrial demand, and the collapse of confidence in the derivative markets. China has seen this chessboard in advance and made the decisive move to protect its national interests, leaving the West and slow-moving retail investors completely exposed. The final question is not whether the crisis will happen. The mathematical data confirms it is inevitable. But where you will be standing when this tsunami hits. Future wealth will not belong to those hoarding paper money that is burning away due to inflation, but to those who own the real, tangible assets essential for the future economy. History always favors the prepared, and the warning has been delivered right before our eyes. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications immediately, because this resource war is just one small piece of the puzzle regarding the shifting global monetary order that I will continue to dissect in upcoming content.